Just in case you haven't checked out the last few videos I uploaded, which, by the way, you should go watch them if you haven't already, especially if you want the full details about what's going on here. But now it has been exposed that Carmelo Anthony's baby-beating spokesman, Dominique Alexander, it's been exposed that he has been using fake unlicensed security guards, a fake unlicensed security team. And this team has been used to provide professional security for people like Carmelo Anthony's family. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is completely against the law. It turns out you cannot just wake up one day and decide that you're top flight security of the world, Craig. You cannot just wake up one day and be an official security guard that provides professional services to people. But that's what's happening with Dominique Alexander and the people around him. He hires his little low-life friends to pretend to be his bodyguards, and they dress up in like tactical military gear, and they try to look intimidating, but they all look like complete idiots. But anyways, in one of the videos I put out discussing this, I jokingly said that this feels like one of those like old mafia movies or mob movies. You know how, like, and don't get me wrong, this happens in real life as well, but I've only experienced it in the movies. But I know you've seen a movie or a TV show where, like, a mob boss or the mafia, they extort small business owners. They make them pay a weekly or a monthly fee in exchange for protection. And the protection is basically, hey, the mafia will stop their low-level cronies and thugs from messing up your business or robbing you or beating people up outside of your establishment. The mafia will make sure that doesn't happen at your restaurant or at your, local pharmacy, as long as you pay up a certain fee every week. Protection money. I think it's called a protection racket. Well, I was joking that what Dominique Alexander is doing, I was joking that it kind of feels like that. It feels like a protection racket. And as I was joking about it, it hit me. Like, wait, that is what this basically is. Don't get me wrong, it looks different. It's a little different, but it's the same as well. You see, the mafia or the mob, they would stop their own members, like I said, lower level members from, harassing certain shops in exchange for money. They would tell the business owners, hey, you don't got to worry about these thugs. You don't got to worry about people, smashing out your windows. You don't got to worry about any of these problems. You give us money, we'll make sure things are handled. And back in the day, in certain areas, and I'm sure it's still happening now, a lot of the business owners could not rely on the police. They had to pay the mob if they wanted to run their business without any problems. Well, you see, with Dominique Alexander and this fake little activist organization he has, they do the same thing, but in a different way. As I've been explaining to you all, it's obvious that he targets black families that are in the middle of some sort of crisis. They're in the middle of a very bad, hard, confusing time. And there's always a racial aspect as well. Maybe this family has a family member that just got killed by a white police officer. Or maybe this family has a son that just stabbed a white kid at the track meet. You see, that's where Dominique Alexander and his organization, that's where they swoop in. And they do a modern day form of protection racketing. Dominique Alexander is basically running a modern day protection racket in a suit that's dressed up a little bit. It looks a little different, but it's the same. Like I said, the mafia, the mob, they would scare the business owners that they would have to worry about all types of different things, you know? You'd have to worry about arsonists. You would have to worry about people smashing up your business, this and that. Dominique Alexander, he comes in and he doesn't scare these families with threats of vandalism. No, he scares them with threats of white supremacy. He comes in, he swoops in, and he convinces these families that without him, without his organization, that there will be a horde of evil, angry white people out to get them. Just like the mafia does when they warn the business owners, oh, if you don't pay up, these people are going to come for you. They'll do this, they'll do that, they'll ruin your business. Dominique swoops in and he convinces these families that are going through these tragic, crazy situations, he convinces them that, oh, the big bad white people, they're coming for you. Whitey is coming for you. What are you going to do? And he probably scares the living daylights out of these people. Because a lot of these people really are scared of racism and white supremacy. Because they're constantly indoctrinated by nonsense everywhere they look. So it's not hard for Dominique Alexander to swoop into some of these communities and scare them that, oh my God, all of the angry white people are coming for you. You need our help. You need our security, our fake, unlicensed security. Okay, do you guys see where I'm going here? I feel like that is exactly what's going on with Dominique Alexander. And then you got to really think about this case. If you've been paying attention, you know about the nonsense that Karmelo Anthony's family has been pulling. You know that they hyped up all of these threats. Oh my God, Karmelo's family, they're getting threatened. But it turned out that pizzas were being delivered to their house. And a lot of us were sitting here like, why are they making such a big deal out of this stuff? Well, now we know why. Dominique Alexander, the baby beater, is making a big deal out of this stuff. That's why it's always him that you hear from. Yeah, we heard from Karmelo's mom once, but any other time it's been Dominique Alexander. You see, he swoops in and he riles these people up. Oh my God, why are they making a big deal out of the pizza? Because Dominique Alexander is making a big deal out of it. Because he needs Karmelo Anthony's family to be afraid so they feel like they need his services. A protection racket. Remember how we found out that there were no credible police reports? There were no credible threats against Karmelo? Yet we were hearing all of this nonsense from Dominique Alexander? Don't you think that if there were real threats and really something going on, they would love to call the police and tell them, ladies and gentlemen? They would love nothing more. But that's the reason why Dominique talks about all of these threats, but nothing's being reported to the police. Because most of this stuff is not really happening. And the little stuff that is happening, it's being over-exaggerated on purpose to scare Karmelo Anthony's family. I'm not asking you to sympathize with Karmelo's family. I don't either. But in a way, how can I put this? Karmelo Anthony's family, they are victims of Dominique Alexander right now. Now, I want to be clear. Austin Metcalf is obviously the real victim of this story. He's obviously the victim of what happened between him and Karmelo. I am not telling you that Karmelo is a victim, but if you look at it, Dominique is definitely preying on Karmelo's family. And if they weren't despicable people that tried to use their race to get people to sympathize with them and send them money, and if they weren't constantly playing victim when they shouldn't have been, then maybe I would sympathize with them a little bit more, because they are the victims of Dominique Alexander. He has come in with his protection racket, and he has convinced them that they need his help. But as I was saying, that's why the police have no credible reports. Because this Dominique Alexander knows that there's not really any credible threats, but he can't let Karmelo's family know that. So he'll hold his little bogus press conferences, but he won't report any of these threats because they're not real. But in Karmelo Anthony's family's mind, they probably are real. Because like I said, they're in a very vulnerable place. And they have this professional race baiter manipulating them in their ear 24/7. And like I said, that explains why they made a big deal out of the pizza being delivered to their house. That explains why they made a huge deal about little kids playing with water guns in their neighborhood. And they acted like, oh my God, they're here to get Karmelo. Karmelo's being targeted. But it was really just a bunch of little kids running around a gated community, squirting each other with water guns. That's the big threat. Okay? When it comes to Karmelo, when they had to move Karmelo to a protected, undisclosed location, it was because little kids were outside playing with water guns. So the reason they've made a big deal about all of this is because Dominique Alexander is making a big deal out of this. Because he needs this to be a big deal in order for Karmelo's family to feel like they need him. For some odd reason, a lot of people still don't understand this to this day. But Dominique Alexander, the baby beater, he is not Karmelo Anthony's lawyer. He's not part of Karmelo Anthony's legal team at all. In all reality, he's a random dude that crawled out of the woodwork because he knew, oh, look, here's a target. Here's someone I can target in my little protection racket scheme. Here's a vulnerable black family in a situation that does involve race. Let me swoop in, use the threat of white supremacy and, oh my God, white people are so bad, they're out to get you. Let me use that once again to manipulate this family into thinking they need my fake security team to secure them. And the ridiculous stuff that we've seen, I guarantee you, is nothing compared to the ridiculous stuff that's going on behind the scenes. We've heard so many statements from this guy, and they're all idiotic. They're all just, I don't even have the words for them. They're just so stupid. So all of the stupid stuff this guy is willing to say on national television, across various different platforms, all of the stuff this guy is willing to say, all of the stupid stuff this guy is willing to say in public, imagine what he's saying behind closed doors with Karmelo Anthony's family. If he's making such a big deal out of nothing, and these press conferences that the whole world can watch, imagine what he's saying in the ears of Karmelo Anthony's family. I can guarantee you it's bad. What he's doing to that family is criminal. And if they were better people, I would care. Because I try to be a good person. But because I think Karmelo's family are shit people who have been making excuses for their murderer son, who have tried to play the victim and use their race to play the victim, I don't care that they're being preyed upon and taken advantage of by this guy and his little protection racket scheme. But I do believe that that is ultimately what is going down here. And at this point, I honestly would not be surprised if they're hiding Karmelo out at like some sort of makeshift underground bomb shelter surrounded by 24/7 around-the-clock fake security in order to get as much money out of Karmelo's family as possible. They probably have him at some sort of super secure pro-black compound where they have to, around the clock, secure the perimeter and make sure no white supremacists are in sight. You know what I mean? I guarantee you they got something going on to where they're scaring this family and getting as much out of them as possible. And that's why Karmelo was transferred to a secret, secure location. It's not because he was in danger. It's because this Dominique Alexander guy has scared the living crap out of Karmelo's family. And they're making all of these moves that aren't even necessary because this guy wants to get more money and attention. It's as simple as that. And I've been talking about this ever since this case started. You know, pretty early on, I've been calling out that I really think that this guy is taking advantage of Karmelo's family. But it really hit me when I was joking earlier that, oh, this is definitely, in my opinion, allegedly, this definitely at least looks like a protection racket scheme. But you guys let me know what you think down below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. If you want to support the channel even further, you could donate via Cash App or Super Thanks. But with all that being said, I'll talk to you all very, very soon in the next one.